Hey everyone, today we're going to start working on assemblies. And assemblies are kind of complicated. So you're going to want to be patient with yourself when you learn this. You're going to be putting pieces together and you're going to join them with joints, and they can be tricky. Don't be weird about undoing what you've just done and trying again, because it's going to take several attempts to do each assembly, especially as you get used to this. Even I still redo joints constantly. If it's not coming together, you just delete a bunch of joints and put them back together. And you'll see this happening a few times here today. First thing you need to do is download the file from Blend, and then you're going to import it into your Fusion 360. So we're going to go down here and click open, open from my computer. I'm going to click on the selfie stick, which is right here that I downloaded from Blend. Then it should load up. Take a moment, and here you see all of these components. Quite a lot of them, and we're going to be putting these together with various types of joints. I'll probably get you through half of them, and then you can continue to make these and turn them in as a drawing at the end. There is one component that is missing, however, and this is a little wing nut sort of thumb screw guy that is in a different area of the universe. And this is a way to show you that you can actually import parts from a part supplier, a manufacturer directly, a hardware store. Um, that hardware store is called McMaster Car. So if you go here to insert, you can insert some stuff, decals. You can put pictures on your things, um, other components from different types of 3D rendering software, but also a insert McMaster car component. If you click on here, it pulls up a website. You might get a warning box that says, "Hey, you're going to go to a different website." McMaster Car is an online hardware store. They have tons of stuff, and one of the coolest parts is in the website they have 3D files on hand. So you're going to type in this part number 91185A911, which is a thumb screw, plastic head thumb screw, and you're going to use the this model to get the step file, which is right here, the 3D step. I'm going to download that. You'll see, how much are these? $7.92 for 10 of them. It's not the cheapest place to find hardware, but it's a very great resource for these sorts of things. I'm going to download that. And it should pop into my um, components list after a moment. See, it locks up the computer, and there it is. Sits right here. They have tons of things on McMaster Car. It's pretty great. Hit enter, and it's locked in place. So these are not necessarily all different bodies. These are all components, and so they are all movable in this space. Each thing is uh, it's a different object that was created. I thought this was two objects. Maybe it's not. So this is a selfie stick, and we're going to start assembling the selfie stick. You're going to do that by creating joints. Each of these components will be joined together to create an assembly, and each type of joint, there's a bunch of different types of joints that we'll be using. The first step is to find which part of all of these parts is going to be the one that you don't want to move around, sort of the base part, if you will. I'm going to choose this case, if you will, for my base part. And I can right click on it. And what I want to do is ground this part, which is not here, actually. It's over here. Just when you click on a part, there's a little dashed blue line underneath, tell you which one's selected. I'm going to take the stick bottom. I'm going to right click on this here, and I want to click ground. What I'm doing is I'm making this component immobile. So if I grab on it now, it won't move. I'm clicking here and trying to drag it around. All the other parts are still mobile. I can move them around, but this one's not. That one's gonna stay still. And it becomes important when you want to move parts around. You don't want all of them to move. You only want the ones that are supposed to move to move. And so this will be the one that doesn't move. Now we're going to make joints. We're going to take this inner rod and we're going to put it into the stick bottom. This one's called the stick top. We're going to put it into the stick bottom. I could just grab it and I could move it in the right place, but that's not what we want to do. We want to have Fusion 360 do it for us. It's going to be very hard to do assemblies if you don't have a mouse. So make sure you get a mouse. I'm going to click on joint, and now I need to choose what I'm going to join. And I want to do this, the base right here. So the inner cylinder, the circle around the cylinder, I want to choose that one, and I'm going to make it go into this one right here. This is where it gets confusing because I can make it go up here if I wanted to, or down here on the side. But choosing which areas it should go into is kind of tricky. It's like big puzzle that you don't know the how it goes together. You have to figure it out. And so that's a joint, and we can keep moving these parts around. Um, but we want to specify what type of joint it is. We have positioned it in the right area, and now I want to choose what type of motion it has. There's revolute, which means it rotates, rigid, which means it doesn't move at all. There's slider, um, which oddly enough, this is not an example of. Cylindrical, pin and slot, planar, which are like two surfaces that slide on each other, and ball joints. This is actually going to be a cylinder. You'll see it moves back and forth in that motion there. If I wanted to change the axis that it moves, I can choose right here. You'll see how wrong this is there. Kind of fun to watch. And Z is also Z is actually okay. That's the one I started with. And then there's also the X axis. We don't want it to slide on any of these because they are unnatural. We're going to choose Z. And if you wanted to, you could go back to position and you can restrict how far that joint goes. But right now, we're going to leave it as such. And you'll see what right now I can slide it in and out of the that cylinder, but it's not limited in any direction. It's just going to slide as much as you want. And so I'm going to leave that there. So now we have one joint done, which is pretty fine. Um, Now we're going to create more. A lot of these are going to be cylinder type joints or revolute joints. Very few are going to be static because we want this thing to move around a little bit. This part goes on there next. You'll see that there is wrong button, um, a hole in the bottom. This looks like threaded. It's supposed to be threaded, but they're not modeled threads. They're images. I'm going to make a joint between this base here and this right here. Um, and I'll choose, well, I guess I'll choose that guy. And I'm actually going to, ooh, what in the world just happened? I'm going to cancel that, make him go back. Try that one more time. Choose that. And now this. Now, what I don't want is I don't want to choose this one right here because then they're going to be touching like just the tips. I want the uh, threaded portion to be all the way to the back. So I'm going to move my view cube a little bit and choose that one right there. See, I'm going to go back to the home screen. And we don't want this to be a cylindrical mate this time. That's going to be an inappropriate relationship. This one's going to be a revolute. We want it to be able to rotate but not slide. choose rotate. And you can all again choose the different axes that it revolutes around, but it sometimes chooses the correct one out of default. And we'll click OK. Now we have it goes back to normal, and now you'll see um, I can still slide this back and forth, and I can turn this one around. It is now revolving around one another. Um, there are a few other parts here to go in. Um, we are going to do. Let's try a different one. Let's see. We're gonna do a revolute mate between this cylinder here and this one here. Let's see what that looks like. You see how that's off by a lot? I can now move it out of the way, and I think it should still work. Go back to the motion, and you can change and select the axes. That's going to be the wrong axis. How about Y? Also wrong. How about Z? There we go. Now it goes way too far, but that's okay at the moment. And now we have um, several components that are now locked together. I can move the whole thing still, which is pretty cool. So we will need this screw to go through those two holes to hold them together, even though they're still locked in place right now. This cylinder goes through this hole here, and then the base of this um, object will go on there, and then eventually through the hole right here. I'm going to allow you to do these independently. I might try and do I think it's going to be a planar mate between this and this. Let's go to planar. Ooh, I've actually not done a planar mate before on Fusion360. That's pretty fun. So it appears it can still slide around. You know what? I'm going to cancel that one. I think this should be rigid, in fact. Um, we'll choose that one again. That surface. And this surface. And we'll make it rigid. So it does not move. Okay, at the end of this, what you're going to do is you're going to submit to me a PDF drawing. Drawings work essentially the same way. I have to save my project. Of course, bad practice by not saving my work as I would go forward. Um, the whole assembly is now going to go into a drawing. I forget this always takes a lot of time. The drawing does not need to be dimensioned, but the only view that I should see of an assembly at this time is an ISO view. So you see it's very, very small. We don't want to see the front. We want to see the isometric. Something like that. 1 to 10 is too small. Let's go 1 to 5.